Leaving South Africa, I thought that I would no longer have to deal with a society riddled with hate and discrimination. I was, however, incredibly shocked when moving to China to see just how blatantly open racism was. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples. It shocked me because I was used to having to walk on eggshells when discussing the topic of race, but in China it's just something that's out there in the open. So, for instance, when introducing myself to Chinese people, I would be asked where I'm from. Actually, I'd usually be told, you're from XYZ. They would say things like, 你是不是俄罗斯的, or 你是美国人吗? That kind of thing, which means, are you Russian, or you're American, aren't you? That kind of thing. But when I would say that I was South African, I would 100% of the time get a very confused, but you're not black response. And, after a lengthy explanation as to why I wasn't black, I'd usually get a good, because black people are bad type of response. I was very uncomfortable with this, and unfortunately, this was the attitude of the vast majority of people in mainland China. And yes, I said it, the vast majority. You see, usually in cases of open racism like this, you can always kind of say, oh, it's only a few people. It's a couple of bad eggs that have this kind of idea, the outliers, And that way you can kind of exclude an entire group of people from being bad or having a bad trait because it's only a few nasty ones. However, in this case, this kind of discrimination, this kind of open discrimination specifically against black people and Indian people, and we'll get into some of the others later, is actually the vast majority of mainland Chinese people. I'm saying 99% of all Chinese people that I spoke to from all different walks of life would have something derogatory to say about black people when I mentioned that I was South African. Me being white meant that I was the kind of foreigner that they like. And almost immediately I'd be told how other races are inferior, and they have all sorts of things are quite common to hear in China, like, oh, Indian people smell bad, black people are scary and look like this, etc., etc. The fact of the matter is, though, I would still receive discrimination. Now, I've mentioned it before, a lot of it was positive discrimination. Because I was a white foreigner, I would be invited to people's tables, invited to drink for free. I'd be given special attention. This, however, is not something that I was looking for and not something that I enjoyed, especially after a while it starts to grate. And it leads to situations where you can't even have a meal peacefully with your wife at a restaurant without being accosted by a shirtless man trying to kiss you. Now, the reason I talk about all of this is because I would like to talk about the current signs and attitudes towards foreigners right now in mainland China. There's always been discrimination. And like I said, though,